Okay. Hello guys. Uh, this is Ankul, your mentor for DEND program. So I know most of you are busy and you are probably not able to join this live session. But anyways, I am going to proceed and I will show you some techniques for the data warehouse section because I see most of my students have already passed the first and the second project, but the third project, I guess only two or three people have done it, and most of the others are still stuck. So that is why I'm going to give a session on data warehouse. So these are the things that I'm going to touch upon. Creating user roles in AWS, using AWS user role to access S3 data, JSON paths and how to copy data in Redshift. Next, we have difference between analytical processes and operational processes. And the final one, types of data warehouse architectures. So let's move on. So first, I will show you how to create user roles in AWS, and using that role, how you can access uh, data in S3. So let's proceed. Okay, so this is the AWS console. So whenever you create a ID and then you log in, most of the time you will come to this page first. So here there are some information that you need to take care of, which is the first one is region. So you probably select one region which is nearest to you, so then it will be faster than other regions. So this is the console, and so if you want to create a user role here, I'll tell you how to create. So in Find Services, you have to search for IAM, which is manage user access and encryption keys. Okay, so once you are in IAM page, you can go to users, and you can see for now I don't have any users. So there are no IAM users. So let me just add one user, username, probably my name. And here there are two options. So first is programmatic access, enables an access key ID and secret access key. So if you want to access AWS through your Python programs, so then this is the option that you need to select, programmatic access. Once you select it, you have to click on next. And here you have user groups. So I already have one user group, but let me just create a new group because if you are a new user, you might not have this role. So you can do create group name. So this is the part where you have to set the type of access that you want to give to those users. So I'm going to show you the access for admins. So if you have some admins in your group, so you can give the group name as admin, and you can select the policy name as administrator access. So what this policy will have is it will have access to everything. So it's not like just the S3 access or just the Redshift access. It will have all the access. So if you give access to these users, they will have they will be kind of admins. So let me just select that and create the group. Okay, so admin is selected, and I have selected this group. Next, I'll click on the next button here. You don't have to put any key and value pairs here. Yeah, so programmatic access with an access key. Permissions boundary is not set, so this is fine. Group is admin. Done. So once you click on create user here, you will have an access key ID and a secret access key. Okay, so these are important steps, and we will need those in and the next steps. So let me just copy the access key ID. And one more thing you have to take care of is uh, you should not share the access key ID and the secret access key to anyone. So once this is over, I might be deleting this access key so that no one else can use it. But so if you create one access key ID and one secret access key, I would suggest you not to give it to anyone, because if they get the ID and the key, they will have access. They will have admin access to your AWS console. This key ID and secret key. Yeah. So once this is done, you can click on close. So you can see we have one user. So this is enabled now. And if you want to delete the user, you can just check it and click on delete user. So this will delete the user, and he will not have access anymore. Okay, done. So now we have access to AWS with the access key ID and the secret key. So the next step is probably I'll show you how we can use AWS user role to access S3 data. So I have had many students ask me how to access the log data that is there in Udacity DE&D S3 bucket. So I'm going to show you some code that I have written, and you can use this code to access the JSON path or the files that are present in S3. Okay, so this one is not required. Leave it. Uh, what you will need is uh, Boto3. So Boto3 is used for mostly accessing S3 data. So this is, you have to install this first. The next is URL parse. So this one, I think it is pre-installed in Python, so you don't have to do anything. And JSON is also a part of Python, so you don't need to install these things. So let me just show you how you can access data here. So you can see I have created create data list method. So with the S3 file path. So suppose this is your file path. So this is the file path that is present in your S3 data warehouse exercise. So I have seen that most of you are confused as to what is there in the log JSON path JSON file. So I'll show you what is there. Okay. So first, once you get this URL for the JSON, you have to parse it. So I'm parsing it here, and I'm separating it into bucket and key. So this part here is the bucket, and this part is the key here. So Udacity DEND dash DEND is the bucket, and log.json path is the key. So first, let me connect to S3. So connecting to S3, you can do it this way: photo3.resource. Type is S3. So region name, I told you, you can see here. In the first AWS homepage, see, you can see region is US West 2 for now. So you have to give it here. Now you have to give the access key ID and the AWS secret key. So let me just copy my new access key ID. and also the secret key. So once we connect to S3, we can search for the bucket. So I'm saving it in s3.bucket. So this is the Udacity DEND path. So you just have to give s3.bucket in brackets. You have to give the bucket name. Now what I'm doing is, if you use s3.object, the bucket and the key. So key.lstrip means the key was like this. So let me just show you here. So the value of key was like this, but we have to remove this slash from here so that we have just the file name. So that is by key.lstrip. Now if you run this line, your JSON will be saved in your content object. So what you can do is content object.get body, and we can read it and decode it using WTF8. Okay. So once this is done, you can load the JSON. So it is just one method, JSON.loads the file content. So if you don't select just the body, there will be the headers as well as the body part in the content object. So we don't need the headers, we only need the body part. So that is why I have written only the body. So once this is done, the JSON is parsed, and now we can print the JSON. So let me just run it. Yeah, so you can see this is the JSON paths file. So let me tell you one more thing as well here. So most of the students, while they are copying the data into the Redshift tables, so you might be facing problems there, like whatever data is there in those JSONs, so they might not be getting inserted. So this is one important step that you have to do while copying the data. So JSON paths is a important JSON that you need to include in your queries so that your query works. And similarly, you can now I have read one JSON, so you can also read uh, other JSON files like the log data, or you can just print out the list of log data that is present. So most of them are same, just some small changes in how it is done. So here we were doing s3.object capital O, and we were giving the bucket and the object name here. But here, suppose if we want to know the list of elements, so we just have to give for file name, this is the loop. So this will have all the list of objects here. Sample db, this is the bucket dot objects dot filter with the key. So key is log data. So here we are just going to the log data folder and printing out all the JSON that is present inside log data folder. Okay, so now I hope that uh, you know how to create, you have learned how to create user roles, and also how to access S3 data using the AWS role. So now let me go to another topic, so which is the JSON path that I showed you here. So what is the use of this JSON path, and how it is used to read the JSON data? Hmm. So this is a Redshift document, copy users notes, copy from JSON. So suppose this is a JSON file. So there are two JSONs here, first one, and these are two objects in the JSON. So now let me just show you one example here. Suppose, yeah. So suppose this is the JSON that we want to read and we want to copy it to a mm, file or to a table. So here, if you see friends, this is a list. This is an array. So we have an array here, and there are two objects inside that array in friends. So how do you think we are going to read this? We cannot insert two elements in one column, correct? So if we have a friends column, we cannot insert both these rows in that column for the friends column. So that is not possible. So what we can do is, mm, so if we put in JSON part this way. So in JSON part, if we put friends and then say one or the zero or whatever is the number. So suppose since this is an array, correct? So we can slice it. So first element will be 0, second element will be 1. So if we give this in the JSON part, so it will just insert the second row. This one is 0, this one is 1. So the item number in that list, which is the second one here, so this will get inserted, and Redshift will not get confused, okay, whether I need to insert this or this. So that is the use of JSON path. And normally we can give JSON as auto, but in your specific example, I don't think you can give auto. You have to give your JSON path. So I will not go into the details as to how you can do that. So that is up to you, how you want to use your JSON path during your copy. And one more thing I wanted to show you for copy. So this is the copy command API. So here, this is the syntax. I wanted to show you some uh, yeah, formatting parameters. So that can be used with JSON during copy. So these are the formatting characters, and these are the conversion parameters. So if you want to suppose this, so I will give you one example, blanks as null. So if you give this parameter in your copy statement, what it will do is, if the JSON has blanks for a key, so that value will be set as null in your table. So it will get inserted as null. So empty as null. So this is also one. There are many others. So if you want to convert some JSON value into time format and then want to insert it in your table, so this is the thing that you have to use. Yeah, I will be sharing you this sheet with all the details. So let me just copy. So let me just delete my user also. Yeah, so I have deleted my user and I have deleted my group. So uh, there is no one who can now use my access key and access ID to access AWS. So that is done. Okay. So I have told you about you creating user roles. I have told you about how to access S3 data. I have also told you how to use JSON paths and how to copy data. So let's go over some technical things that you might have missed, or like you might have doubts in your class. So the first one is difference between analytical processes and operational processes. So I'm pretty sure these were covered in those classes, but uh, let me just go over them. So uh, operational processes are the ones uh, are the processes that get executed during operation. So suppose you have a company, uh, let's say Amazon. So what are the operations for Amazon? So it can be a user buying a thing, or uh, like packaging of the uh, orders. So those things are operational processes, and these are the processes that get triggered uh, for collecting the data. So if an operation is executed, so we will process. Uh, so what happens is we will store some data related to that process, or we will query our DB to get some data. So suppose there is a user who has ordered three things, but now how do we know what are the three things that the user has ordered? So for that we need to query our DB and get those details, or like whenever the user orders it, so the uh, orders that the products that he ordered will get stored in the DB. So this is the first process, operational processes. So normally most of the time, mm, the data that we get in come from operational processes, and analytical processes are normally the processes that data engineers or data analytics team will use. So suppose you want to execute a query to get something from those data. So get something useful. Suppose you have 100 defects in your name, and you want to know in which section most of the defects are coming, or uh, so like that. So those are analytical processes, and operational processes. So let me just write down the difference also. Yeah. Find out. Yeah. So this is also done. Uh, Now the final thing that I wanted to discuss was type of data warehousing architectures. So there are a lot of data warehouse architectures that people use. Most of them are like one data in and one data out. So that flow is a fixed structure, but uh, the current generation of data warehouses does not follow that mostly. So it is kind of somewhat elastic. So even if we have a fixed data source, we might not have a fixed output. So most of the time what we do currently is the data comes and we store it in some tables, or we might have different schemas for different teams, and each of the team will use their own schema to collect analytical data. So there will be specific queries for which the schema will be designed. So that is the new gen data warehouse. The old gen was not like that. The old gen was mostly there will be one data source and for analytical queries also. So we have one schema and we have only a set of queries that we used to run, and those were the only things that all of the teams had to use. So now it is not like that. So now we can have multiple schemas, like say 10 schemas for 10 different teams, and each of the schema that we make is uh, modified so that that team gets the most out of the data. So it is like that. So you might have learned of Kimball's ball architecture, and which is like Kimball's bus architecture, which is like somewhat older versions, and the current new versions that we use, like and the hybrid bus and Inmon CIF. Yeah. So you just read them and you see the videos. You tell me if you find any problems. I'm here to help you. I'm pretty sure most of the things will be made clear. So uh, you just uh, you just ask me or ping me on Slack so that I can attend to your queries. And one more thing that I wanted to discuss was if you find this video helpful, so I am uh, I am thinking of continuing this for every week. So maybe if you find this helpful, you can ping me on Slack uh, in our common chat room here in the session 976. So ping me here and do let me know whether you find it helpful, and if you want to know more about it, or if you want me to go in depth. So even those options are possible. You can just tell me. So that's it from my side. If you have any other questions or anything, you can ping me on Slack. Bye bye.